Hello, I would like to tell you a story. Once upon a time, this dude here tweeted this. It's a picture of a crucifix that says, "In memory of aborted children," with a broken heart in the center of it. And then some guy, not the guy who tweeted it, some other guy is pouring a beer out on the ground in front of it, presumably making fun of it. And then this guy, atheist engineer on Twitter, he tweeted this photo and he said, "Nobody has memories of children that never existed, so there's nothing to have in memory of." Laugh emoticon. At the time, I quote tweeted him and I said, "Statements like these are why women who mourn their children lost through miscarriage get the added bonus of wondering if their grief is stupid. Children that never existed. Ugh." And after that ensued a Twitter argument. The guy that I quote tweeted got really mad at me. He said I was misconstruing him because he was obviously talking about aborted children and not miscarried children. And I asked him what distinction he's making. Does he mean that he thinks embryos and fetuses that die through miscarriage are children who existed, but the ones that die through abortion are children who never existed? Like, what's the line he's drawing? Spoiler, he was not able to explain the distinction that he's making because there's no distinction. Whether they died through miscarriage or through abortion, the statement would be the same. He meant it to only be about abortion. What I'm saying is that statements like that, they're not just about abortion. They're about embryos and fetuses. And so we see this problem sometimes with abortion advocacy. I've started calling it clump of cells reductionism. Some abortion rights advocates, in their attempts to defend abortion, will say really cruel, ridiculous things about embryos and fetuses. Block of cells, fantasy flecks of cells, brainless jelly bean, goo. Most of the time when abortion rights activists make comments like this, they're only thinking about abortion, and they're trying to emphasize what they see as the relative lesser value of embryos compared to girls and women who are pregnant. They're not thinking about miscarriage at all. They're not trying to be hurtful to people who have lost children through miscarriage. But the thing is, there's no way to dehumanize and dismiss embryos only in terms of abortion. You either think that they are irrelevant clumps of goo, or you don't. Now, to be super clear, you absolutely can be pro-choice and recognize that miscarriage grief is very serious. You can be pro-choice and deeply grieve your own miscarriages. Those are not incompatible positions. You could be pro-choice not because you devalue or dehumanize embryos and fetuses, but because you believe that strongly in bodily rights. And you might see it as a conflict and a really difficult decision, but ultimately you think bodily rights have to come first. Or you could be pro-choice because you do think embryos and fetuses are not valuable human beings, but you recognize that they are important to other people and you sympathize with their grief. Or you could be pro-choice because you think they're not valuable human beings, but you still think they are valuable in some sense. Like one time I heard someone make an analogy to setting the Mona Lisa on fire. If someone burned the Mona Lisa, it would be a tragedy. It would take something that a lot of people in the world consider very valuable, and people might feel very sad about it, and it still wouldn't be the same thing as killing a person. So there are a lot of ways that you can be pro-choice and still be sympathetic to or personally experience grief over miscarriage or grief over abortion. What you can't do, though, is be really dismissive and cruel about the importance of embryonic life to people and then say that that doesn't apply to miscarriage.